Oh. I'm live. Yay. Okay. I'm telling you, the last couple of weeks, it has been rough to get this show on the road. Welcome, everybody. My name is Teri Hunter. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I tried to start this stream about 5 minutes ago, and I hope some of you will make it back. So I'm going to give it a minute for you to find me. Today is March 13th. 2022. Hey, small wildflowers. I apologize, everybody, for the confusion. I start the live and it goes into some sort of a loop. There you are, Katarina. Welcome back. Welsh, welcome. Nicole, Jules, Natalia, Juan, great to see you posted up. Okay, so it's an exciting full moon coming up, I think. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Oh, good, Welsh. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. Okay, so this is an interesting time because we have some fun stuff going on. Let me get my little notes. On the full moon this week, this coming week, March 18th, Lucky's birthday is the day after, March 19th. He'll be 10 years old. We're going to have a little stellium in Pisces. We'll have Mercury at 13 degrees. We'll have Jupiter at 18 degrees. Neptune at 23, and then the sun or the full moon at 27 degrees Virgo. And I think this is super powerful because I think when we look at the Pisces Virgo axis, we see this real spiritual sort of reflective 12th house Piscean energy. And then we see this real practical earthbound energy with Virgo. And there's something about this full moon that makes me feel as if there's going to be an illumination within each one of us about our thoughts, what we speak about, how our everyday activities, Mercury in the 12th house, and our beliefs, that would be Jupiter, and Neptune in some respects, our spirituality, and how all of this comes together in a way that I am, as the human, co-creating within my environment the dynamic of my Virgo health, my work, my service, my pets. And I want to kind of bring it this way because I'm kind of excited. So my words feel a little like they're trying to rush out of my mouth. But I feel what the most important thing about this moon may be is that it illuminates how incredibly powerful we are in relation to our health, in relation to how we treat our bodies. And I feel as if the idea of Virgo being an earth sign is about looking to how the earth and what I put into my body, how I fuel my body, how I am contributing to my own physical experience. And I want to offer it this way because I hear a lot of people talking about an ascension, telling people be in gratitude, just, be in the light. And as I listen to these things, they feel very clear what they mean to me, but they don't feel clear in general. If you're feeling crappy, how do you be in the light? If you're feeling crappy, how do you be in gratitude? I mean, you can say the words, but the emotion behind the words is really the driving force for the manifestation. So this is where I'm going with all of this. I don't think the ascension comes from some sort of staircase that we suddenly become these, winged creatures that see everything through the eyes of God, as much as I feel that the ascension comes from the wisdom of our challenges. And rather than feeling victimized by our challenges, we seek our participation within them and how that actually, the awareness of that brings a sense of reason to it. I don't believe that I can release something when it's happened to me. I don't believe that I can take my childhood and my mother beating the crap out of me on a regular basis and release that. It happened to me for years and years and years. But what I can do is take that and now turn it into a tool that empowers me to stay away from people that are abusive, to trust my instincts. All of this feels like this is where we're headed. And as we move into April and we see this conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune come into play, this is where I believe the wisdom of all of this comes in. Because, Welsh, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you saying you're sorry. But you know something, I in my childhood, I might not have understood this, but now I believe as a soul that I offered my mother an opportunity to be loving, and she didn't decide to take it. And so I was hardwired enough to be independent if indeed that would take place. So I wouldn't live a life of unending abuse, although depending on how you look at it. So I want to sort of offer it this way. The full moon in Virgo, in an earth sign, gives us an opportunity to really ground our experiences in this world, not to victimize us, but to become victors over them, to transform them into a way that says, I don't need to tether myself to that forever. I don't need to tether myself to that cheating spouse. I don't need to tether myself to that financial ruin. I don't need to tether myself to any splits or divorces in my childhood, as much as I can take those situations and then determine how I will use them as tools to drive my story forward. And that's what I believe the real ascension is. That's what I believe, that when people talk about being of light, it is that dynamic, making sense and looking for the deeper and deeper layers of what appears to be a lower energy. Because I believe everything, there's a balance to everything. And we would never know empowerment without walking through some sort of fear. I believe wholeheartedly that an effortless journey to our dreams makes us more uneasy than if we have challenges, because the challenges give us this sort of, okay, well, I made it through the rain, I deserve this. But sometimes when it's effortless, we wonder, did this come too easily? So I want to, as we go through this full moon in general, I want you to look at the idea of what Virgo represents for you. What house is it in? For me, it's my sixth house. So it's going to speak to how have I been taking care of my health. And I actually think my health feels good. I've been using the idea that Virgo represents herbal medicine. It comes from the earth. It comes from God putting everything on this planet that we need. And now my willingness to trust that journey, and that journey is not about looking for the results, but watching my vibration, which means my belief, my tenacity, my attitude as I go through that journey. So this is what I think is so important. Posted up, it should not define us. I think it should empower us. And oftentimes when we've gone through something really challenging, if we choose not to victimize ourselves, and no offense to Virgo, but Virgo can be really victimized by things and then critical of it, in its very lowest energy. So this is where I think the beauty comes in, because as I look at it and I say, okay, if I hang on to this forever, if I looked at my mother, who I haven't seen and I got to tell you, this is so crazy. I'm going to interrupt myself, but every time I pay my American Express bill, they call me by my God-given name, which is Teresa, and it sounds exactly like my bio mom's voice. It's really unnerving, I have to tell you. Hello, Teresa. But anyway, I digress, because I feel as if I look at these situations and I say to myself, okay, this happened. Now, if it happened, is it my continual thought about it, my continual focus on it, that's actually pulling me under, or is it the situation itself? Because that's where Mercury comes in. And I know that Mercury is not in a tight orb, but they're all in the same house having a conversation. They're all in Pisces, that rules past lives. It rules what we think about when we're alone. It rules this sort of this spiritual dynamic that makes sense of the darkness. That's kind of where I want to go. So as we move forward in this the next couple of years is going to be very I want to say it's going to be disruptive, but not in a way that necessarily needs to pull us into quicksand. It's disruptive because the imbalance that we've perpetrated over and over and over again is going to break away. And that breaking away is initially going to feel uncomfortable because it may be out of balance, but we're used to it. So then the idea of co-creation, the idea that we as individuals are going to be called upon more and more to allow our own creations to sustain us. So this is where I feel like the veil is getting thinner. If we see this stellium in past lives, many of you could be having dreams, a lot of dreams, and feeling like you're having past life memories. That's been going on for me for quite some time. And these past life memories aren't meant to, again, pull you under, but to offer you choices not to repeat or to. I don't believe karma happens to us because like we were bad in a past life and then in this life we're going to get banged on and have no awareness of it. I feel like karma is really a series of choices where we bring characters and situations into our physical experience that gives us an opportunity to make the higher vibrational choice, to see fear as something that actually gives me some rocket fuel to move where I want to versus paralyzing me. So I want to offer you, as you walk through this next few weeks, and obviously even further, paying attention to your dreams. We've had a series of full moons at the 27th degree. I was listening to Pam Gregory I think it was 2 months ago, and she brought that up. There's going to be like 5 of them in a row, I think. 27th degree goes down to a 9. It also represents the Gemini degree. So there's a culmination of a cycle in the way we're perceiving and thinking things and how we're running our everyday lives. And so as we walk through this with this awareness that the ascension is not about trying to float around as if the earth plane is not this kind of duality, this constant contrast of experiences, but rather, how am I going to choose to swim through the contrast? That's the true ascension. And that's where I feel like I've talked about Virgo being this journey of innocence in some ways now, allowing ourselves to have this, if the Virgin is the representative of Virgo, then as this full moon walks through our lives, are we willing to be a virgin and be new in the journey towards the Libra balance that the next house will naturally represent? So I hope that made sense for you. Like I did last week, I pulled 12 tarot cards, one for each sign. I haven't looked at them yet. So as we go through our readings this week, we're going to start with the tarot card. Again, welcome, everybody. So happy to see you all. So let's start as usual, Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And I'm going to go back to this idea. The more and more I think about it, the more I am convinced that the moon is such an important dynamic in our lives. It races through the zodiac every month. It hits every single one of our natal points every single month. So this emotional ride that we're going on is really something we get to pay attention to. And I want to say this too, because of the idea of this stellium in Pisces. If for some reason you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling energetically drained, honor that and allow yourself the privilege of rest, relaxation, sitting with a good book. I the other night I was called to do a bit of a meditative ritual, and I lit some candles and I put myself in a crystal circle. And as I was sitting there, I found myself rocking back and forth and starting to chant, "Love is safe. Love is strong. Love is here." And I'm probably going to do a mantra meditation for that, but I want to offer it to the audience today, or you viewers, that as you walk through this full moon, these 3 phrases can be very powerful to help you stay aligned to the higher, I don't want to say higher, the contrasting experience of how we can thrive during challenging times. Love is safe. Love is strong. Love is here. And it has nothing to do with intimate love. It's an encompassing energy. So kind of going there. All right, Pisces, let's see what your tarot card is for this week. The Knight of Wands. This is very interesting to me because it represents the fire signs. It represents for me a sort of a teenage energy, um, in the sense that there's an enthusiasm to this. And I feel when I look at this, my very first thought was his clothing. I see on it the yellow of my power chakra. I think these are iguanas or I think they're iguanas. They're little reptiles of some kind, and they're representing with the dark color. It almost feels like it represents that contrasting experience. And I feel in some ways that for Pisces, this is really a time to keep focused on what is growing and to allow yourself to look at this contrasting experience without this darkness on his garb, his clothing. There would be no contrast. It would be actually kind of boring. So I think that there's something about Pisces allowing themselves to have an inspired idea this week, to allow themselves the privilege of, I almost feel like I almost want to look at what I think that's a salamander now that I think about it. And I wonder what the representation of a salamander is, because I think there's something about this. I think the salamander is something that is in the water and on land. And maybe this is a little bit of the Piscean energy right now, is to be fluid within how you operate, to allow yourself the privilege of swimming through various waters, kind of how I want to put it. Pardon me. All right, let's see what the angels have to say. It was super powerful, Welsh, because as I was doing it, there was this weird blanket of comfort that as an Aries rising, sometimes meditation is so busy for me. I've got a lot of air and earth in my chart, so I don't sink into the way Pisces and some of the water signs can meld into meditation. But this was so powerful. I almost felt like I was being blanketed with this energy, and it was just like I almost couldn't get up and move. My legs were crossed. I was on my meditation pillow and my legs fell asleep. So when I stood up, I was kind of like, whoa, but it was really great. Okay, so Pisces, Athena is saying it's safe for you to be powerful, to lovingly assert yourself. Celeste is talking about a move to a new home or a place of employment. We know that's a shift in the way I'm thinking. A lot about romance here. Chantal's in the angel's advice, and then we have Daniel, the angel of marriage. So let's look and see what this is about. I too struggle with the idea of love in an earthly way. And that's why I think this mantra, it didn't feel like a meditation. It felt like a mantra. Because one of the things I've noticed over this last year is that I've created so much great things in my life, and I still tend to go boomerang back to what is out of balance and get fired up about it. And I feel like I've been praying to settle more into what is working and to feel this appreciation and a sense of accomplishment with it. And that's kind of where I think this love thing came from. I don't think it came from intimate love at all. I feel like it came from being able to receive happiness and love in a bigger way. Pisces, Athena's being joined by the eagle. Here we go, Neptune and Jupiter coming together. Celeste is being joined by the disruption card. Perfect. Chantal's being joined by the fire fairy. And Daniel is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. So if we look at Pisces, and I can think of this on the top of my head, is Virgo is your 7th house of partnerships. Okay. So I think that maybe we'll go back to the night. It's time to gallop in a more passionate and more inspired way towards asserting yourself in your connection to spirit and understanding that the journey of your love life, and I have to say it's your love life because Chantal and the marriage angel Daniel are both in this spread. And many of you may be in a relationship, many of you may not be in a relationship, but what do you believe about relationship? Because I kind of want to go back to that mantra. Love is safe. Love is strong. Love is here because there's something about your mind that gets to feel a little bit of disruption. This Celeste for me, talks about a happy home or moving to a new home or a new place of employment. But when I think a certain way, you can move me anywhere on the globe and I'm still going to think the way I think. So unless I disrupt the way I'm thinking, until I change the pattern or at least open a space for a change in the pattern, I'm going to continue to inadvertently focus on what has been. Because for Pisces, Chantal and the Fire Fairy are saying it's time for you to get a little bit passionate and excited about your love life. And I want to offer this. I don't want to go always to intimate love. This is your 7th house, though. This is a full moon. There's an illumination being offered to you. And I think this is also an opportunity to bring in grounded love. And if you're already in a relationship, then the resurgence of that connection together, but also allowing for the evolution of the relationship. So if you've been with someone for 5 years, you're not going to be Courtney and Travis, okay? It's going to calm down a little bit. But there are other things that come into play that create a savoriness that maybe sometimes the physical body doesn't always, or as the physical body connection wanes, because here we have a rebirth in the opportunity for relationship. And there's Daniel, the angel of marriage, the birth and the rebirth card. We see that the full moon offers us the rebirth because we're ending one cycle and we're becoming into a new cycle. And I think that the eagle is really more about a more Jupiterian way of perceiving this, that whatever has happened in your history of love is somehow propelling you into more balance moving forward, feeling like, the main thing about the Pisces Virgo axis is that Pisces is so dreamy that it can like sail away, and Virgo is so earthbound that it really won't allow itself to soar. So this is the balance of those two things. So I feel as if Pisces is like, okay, I'm just going to be brave enough to put it out there, what I want. I want to feel safe in love. I want to know that love is strong. I want to know that love is here. Then this disruption of the old story allows for new passions, which then allow you an opportunity for a rebirth in the history of your relationships. It's not guaranteeing someone coming in. You have to align first through your mind and your heart and your belief system, and then the physical experience backs that up. Okay, let's go on to our Aquariuses. Now we have Mars and Venus in Aquarius right now, which I think is very interesting. I also think it doesn't have to do with men and women right now. I think it has to do with money, and it has to do with truth. But that's in a general place for the world. All right. Hey, Brandon, welcome. LB, it's so good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Hey, Shelly. Yeah, Juan's here. He's multitasking, I think. We're like an old married couple, the three of us now, or an old married threesome. So I think they multitask while we're doing the show, and I hope they do. Okay, let's see. Aquarius, what is your tarot card this week? The Fool. I love it. Now, it's funny. I study this with this book, Tarot and Astrology, and they talk about the Fool being Uranus, but I don't think it is. I think it's Mars. I think of this as a willingness to go and be a pioneer, to take my little sack of goodies and take my dog, Lucky, and head out on that cliff. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm willing to go there. And I think this is so friggin' Aquarius, the innovator, the pioneer. And yes, I could associate that with Aries, but I'm sorry, with Uranus. But here I'm not seeing any lightning. I'm not seeing any shocking events. What I'm seeing is this inspiration. And that's how I feel Mars is when it gets an idea. It's like, wow, I can't wait to go give that a try. And then I see the red in the sleeves here, and it just pops out to me. So I feel as if for my Aquariuses, with Venus and Mars traversing your house, and we also know that Saturn's in there, I think this is an opportunity for you to really, Mars, dig deep about how you want to make money. And are you aligning in some ways to your deeper truth? And this full moon may illuminate this need for some sort of I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, please, somebody, I don't have my cheat sheet with me, but if you're an Aquarius rising, then Virgo's your 8th house, right? Because if you're an Aquarius rising, then Leo's your 7th house. So this feels like there's something about revolutionizing yourself, in individualizing yourself from other people's opinions, thoughts, etc. So, all right. Let's go on to our reading. And I want to say this too, because major arcana cards are very powerful. So I want to offer it this way. The Fool is not about a fool. It's really about the hero's journey. And the Fool aspect is that the practical person will think that this person is a fool because they're entering into unknown territory where they could rather stay safe in what they do know. So this is really a hero's journey in many ways. A hero's journey. And this is where I want to kick in that idea of Mars and Venus in Aquarius coming, because they're not going to be hanging out together much longer. So I feel as if this is an opportunity to revolutionize yourself as this full moon illuminates what may or may not be working for you in the real world. And I want to offer it too, because if you are experiencing some challenges in your health sector, look to inspiration as to how the earth itself can help ease you. Because I want to say for Aquarius, it may not be about going and taking herbs. It may be a little bit about spending time in nature to bring down the anxiety that your natural ruling planet Uranus can make you feel. I feel like their nature might, in this sense, by putting your feet in the ground, by walking on grass or in sand of some kind, that might help you feel more connected during this full moon cycle. Okay, let's go. Our first angel for Aquarius is Akasha, the spiritual teacher. The second is Archangel Gabriel. The third is Indriel. And the final is Archangel Raphael. Ooh. Congratulations, Nikki. 2 years that you've been in your home. That's so nice. Isn't that feel good not to walk through that disruption anymore? Okay. Akasha, Aquarius, Moon, Rising, Sun, and Stelliums. Akasha is being joined by the Truth card. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the King. Indriel's being joined by the Hawk. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Frog. So this could very much be about your physical health. And it's interesting to me because, of course, we know Virgo rules health, but this being your 8th house, there's a rebirth of some kind. And I want to offer it this way because I think that Akasha, the spiritual teacher, is not teaching you, but your own truth is teaching you. And this is kind of where the Fool comes back in. Because this Fool isn't listening to anybody else's truth. He's willing to go out on his own and discover who and what he is. And that's, again, why I feel like it's a Mars energy. But this feels very much like this is part of the quote unquote ascension, is that the human will start to connect with the soul within that understands that the choices that they've made in the human experiences is to speak to their truth. And this is how we're being taught while we're under the veil. Because I think the King here does not represent a man, but rather truth and justice in how you're communicating to yourself and how the universe or the world is hearing what you're communicating out to others. Because for Aquarius, there's epiphanies coming. And I believe that we are all light beings. And the awareness of our light kind of indicates how brightly it shines in this plane. And here, I absolutely think this is signs and omens. I don't think this is about Aquarius rising above the situation for an epiphany, as much as this brightness feels as if it's because I'm starting to pay attention to the communications that the divine is giving me that are fair and just and bringing me into alignment. Because in the final position is Archangel Raphael, which is about physical healing. And then here's the frog, which is about emotional cleanup. And I think that this is about your truth. So this doesn't feel so much about like, I mean, it may be about your physical body, but it may be about your anxiety if you have anxiety. Okay. Because this is what I say about Aquarius. And I've talked to many humans, and those of you that have anxiety attacks, please bear with me because I don't want to negate your anxiety. But I think sometimes the anxiety is exasperated because the Aquarian is conflicted between what people want to hear from them and what is their authentic truth, what is their uniqueness. And so in wanting to fit in, there's this or wanting to please or wanting to be part of the greater collective, there can be this feeling of conflict. And then we look at the idea that your rulers are Saturn and Uranus. So there's the old and then there's the new. So in some respects, I think when you're Aquarian dominant, it's about learning from your deeper truth. And that truth doesn't have to be right or wrong in anybody else's opinion. It's only about you. And in doing so, I think that's where we make sense. So I want to offer it this way because I sometimes when I hear people use those keywords, oh, be of light, we're going through an ascension. I don't think it's like literally like going up a staircase. I think it's awareness. I think it's like, wow, it's that epiphany that says, I'm part of this whole situation. Whether it's good or bad is really a matter of perception. Because sometimes the bad is actually the good. That's where I'm going with it. And I think this is where it's really revolutionary for Aquarius. So that's where I'm going with that. All right, let's go on to our Capricorns. And I believe, if I remember correctly, we have an aspect of it. I think there's a grand trine between Pluto in Capricorn. Okay, hold on. Let me think about it for a second. I think it's the moon in Virgo, Capricorn, Pluto, and the North Node in Taurus. That this kind of grand trine right now really feels as if in general, if I'm willing to, and you take that trine and you move it all any way around your natal chart, it's going to ask you in your earth signs to allow yourself to be renovated and liberated. So I think this is really important. Hope that made sense. Kind of felt like I cut myself off. North Node is in Taurus. Yes, it just, the nodes just changed recently, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so as the North Node is transiting, it's making an aspect. I think Pluto's at 28 degrees. I think the North Node's at 25 degrees. And then this moon will be at 27 degrees. So there's kind of a loose orb, but at the same time, it's sort of really claiming what you want and bringing it into the earth, allowing, like experiencing it here on the earth plane versus being too conceptual. Okay, Capricorn, your tarot card is the moon. Now I want to offer this because again, these major arcana cards are considered to have more influence. And I feel when I look at this for Capricorn, the first thing I see are these like prisons. These feel like prisons here. And I almost feel as if Capricorn, this is an opportunity for you to see where you're imprisoning your emotional body, where on some level there could be maybe too much practicality going on within an opportunity to really allow, because the moon, this can represent confusion, but we see the sun and the moon kind of together here. We're talking about a full moon. And I feel as if there's an opportunity to really look and see, Capricorn, where have you stuck yourself into an old story or imprisoned yourself in some way because you're not allowing for this transformation of your emotional, intuitive, the body that lives inside of you, the emotional body. I always think of the moon when I see those commercials, like about the woman carrying the little, she carries her smile around, but she's all depressed on the inside. I always think that's her moon is her. And then the sun is that little mask that she's pulling up. So I feel like there's some sort of integration of these two things. So let's see what Spirit has to say. Oh. So this is going to be your ninth house, right? Capricorn rising. Help me because I don't have my cheat sheet, you guys, and I hate when I do this. But if it's ninth house, like I think it is, and it should be, because the last one was eighth house, unless I'm going the wrong way, then this could really be this could be a real marrying of what you believe about your beliefs and about, whoa. Capricorn's eighth house? No. Pisces was 7. Aquarius was 8. I think it's 9. I should never do these without my cheat sheets. Yes, whole sign. Okay. Because that really is an opportunity if we think about it in so many ways, because ninth house is normally ruled or is ruled by Jupiter. So there really is this opportunity to have this epiphany about how what you're believing about yourself and how that belief may be restricting you in some way or imprisoning you in some way. And this can liberate you. So our first angel is Xana, the angel of protection. The second is Seraphina, the angel of happy families. The third is Omega, victory. And the final is Isabella, saying, yes, the timing is right for this. In Xana is being joined by the owl. Seraphina is being joined by the frog. Omega is being joined by Merlin. And Isabella is being joined by the stag. Okay, I really think for my Capricorns, I love my Capricorns. I always have loved Capricorn. I have a 10 degree Venus, which is the Capricorn degree. So in Virgo, no less. My hair is standing on end and it's driving me crazy. Okay, I want to offer this because Capricorn can be very practical, can be very, this is how the rules go. This is what we're supposed to do. And I feel like as you unravel the wisdom of both sides of the fence, maybe the rules aren't always right. Maybe the way things have been done isn't the most efficient way to do them. And to know you're being protected and emotionally protected as you yourself make this transition. And I think this is going back to the moon in where you have potentially imprisoned yourself. Your intuition, imprisoned your intuition, shut it down because it's not practical, because it doesn't make sense. And I feel like of all the signs, honestly, I think Capricorn's going through the hugest revolution, because as you pay attention to your emotional body, we have the frog cleaning up your emotional body, but also helping clean up your mind. There's more happiness, not only coming to you, but those around you. Because the thing about Capricorn that I find so comforting is that sense of leadership. I have an ex-boyfriend who is a double Capricorn sun and a Capricorn rising. And he very rarely was indecisive about anything. But at the same time, some of his decisions weren't always, heading the right direction. So I think in this particular case, when I say heading in the right direction, I mean that, sometimes he saw the brick wall and he walked into it anyway. But my point is that there seems to be something coming up where Capricorn is striving to transform. And that is to actually see the wisdom of fear and love, of the balance, of the contrast. I kind of am inspired to say, I had a friend who, when he started being a Buddhist, he would really focus on Buddhist belief in suffering. And I understand suffering, as part of the human experience. But to me, it's the contrast. So when I focus on the suffering, when I focus on more challenging situations, I tend to bring more of that towards me. And then as I open up to a bigger picture, well, maybe this challenging situation serves this situation, things start to change. Because in the angel's advice is victory comes from being able to experience the balance. I have to experience the balance I get to experience the balance of how something disruptive actually brought in something better. Because here in the final position for Capricorn is Isabella saying, yes, the timing is right for this new venture. And there's the stag. So let's go back to the idea that Capricorn, this is your ninth house. I'm just going to stick with it. That's what I think it is. Okay, now I'm really confused. I need my cheat sheet, but I'm not going to go get it. Because I really think there's something going on for Capricorn about, it's not about throwing the baby with the bathwater. It's more about integration. How can I integrate a situation? How can I really see the yin and the yang serves, that one is not better than the other? And sometimes it takes a challenge to actually get us to move and take action. So that's where I'm going with that. Yes, it is, Nikki. Many astrologers think a stellium is 3 planets. Strict, it's 4. Outer planets, are generational. So if you really want to get really kind of specific with a stellium, if you have a stellium of personal planets, that's super, super, super powerful. If you have a stellium that includes outer planets, it's not just yours, but it's also the collective of the generation with which you were born in. That's Teri's viewpoint. Okay, on to our Sagittariuses. Our tarot card this week is the Magician. Wow, we're getting a lot of major arcana cards. Ultimate, this to me is as above, so below, represents Mercury, the planet Mercury. What I think, I create in my experience. So we have this real opportunity as a Sagittarian to look at all the elements that God and the angels have put forth. We see the snake belt, which is around, I think, the in between my power center and my wants and desires. And that this infinity sign is really the see the illumination around him, that little bit brighter yellow color. I think this is about an illumination that the as above, so below is that there is no real beginning or ending. It's just a series of choices throughout the situation. And as I bring myself into an awareness that I have all the tools I need, I become more adept and more proficient at bringing the bounty that is offered within this card. This is the first character that the Fool meets when he incarnates. So we could think of this as, the idea that the Fool, as he comes in, is realizing that what he thinks is how he starts to take his actions. So how is Sagittarius thinking? What are you focusing in on? Because I think with Mercury and Neptune coming together, I didn't mean to say that, although they will be. I meant to say Jupiter and Neptune, the conjunction. I think it's going to bring a real expansive awareness of past life decisions, Neptune, of past life dynamics, and an opportunity to rewrite them. And then looking at our pride and seeing, do I stay stubborn about this because I think I'm right and I want to teach someone else a lesson or teach the world a lesson about who I am? Or is my happiness more important? I remember one of the first lessons I learned, because my Aries was very forceful when I was younger, really pushy. I mean, think about it. Aries with a Taurus moon. I thought I was right about everything. And my dad used to say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And at first I wanted to be right. Then as I got older, I realized I wanted to be happy. Okay, Sagittarius, our first angel is Archangel Uriel, the angel of frustration, helping us deal with frustration and unforgiveness, unreleased anger. Then we have Bethany, self-care, Astera, reach for the stars, and Daniel, the angel of marriage. Okay. Ooh. Well, let's see. We have the deer and the butterfly coming out. Astera is being joined by the protection card, and Daniel's being joined by the restriction card. Okay, so here we have the magician that's very much focused in the law of attraction. What am I thinking? What is the focus of my thought? And then I want to go back to what I mentioned earlier about love, because meaning the mantra, love is safe, love is strong, love is here. I feel like when I look at Sagittarius, there is a need to be gentle and diplomatic as I work through a situation that may be angering me. And if I think about the idea of this full moon being in Virgo, it feels like this could potentially have something to do with how I am of service to others. How, there's no work cards here, but for some reason I'm going to the work dynamic. I'm going to the idea of being frustrated with my work situation. And now I think it's time to really allow yourself to blossom, to walk through the caterpillar stage and put yourself first, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is another one of those high-minded signs that thinks in a very broad way, not just about themselves, but about how they represent for the humanity. And I think that there's this sort of dynamic that has been perpetrated that suffering for humanity is somehow noble. And I think that that's being rewritten. So I feel as if Sagittarius, let's take a little bit of time to take care of me right now, because maybe if I take care of me, I'm actually being of better service to humanity. Reaching for the stars with your dreams and desires and not compromising is also, you're protected, because when you pay attention to what you're thinking, this is a 38, which reduces down to an 11. The 22 is being in concert. We're in a 22 year. How is my anger? How is my frustration trying to serve me? What is it trying to illuminate for me instead of pushing it off? Maybe I'm not taking care of myself enough. I'm not giving myself enough permission to feel like I'm valuable. And as I do that, I'm not being protected from other people. I might be protected from my own sense of feeling frustrated and angry. So here in the final position is Daniel, the angel of marriage, and the restriction card. The angel of marriage is never really about marriage. He's about the history we bring into a situation. You know, somebody who's been in a dynamic where they have felt lied to often will go into a new situation looking to see if they're still going to be lied to. And I think that is where Spirit is saying to Sagittarius, be gentle with your old story. If you've been frustrated, if you've been angry, now is the time to take a pause and to inadvertently see if you're bringing that into a new situation. Because everything about this particular full moon in Virgo is about illuminating a little bit more about how you're taking care of yourself in your thought process. Mercury is in Neptune right now. It will be on the full moon at 13 degrees, which is going to be 5 degrees away from Jupiter, which is your ruling planet. It's kind of a wide orb, but it's still an orb that's in the same house, having a conversation about how I perceive myself in the deepest, most soul patterny way is the way I want to put it. It's almost like this is something, as Neptune's been transiting my 12th house and it's been making aspects to other planets. It's made me very aware of my soul patterns and being kind of having these epiphanies about how I'm participating in my own situation. So here I want to offer that. And if indeed Daniel is talking about a relationship you're in, maybe it's an opportunity for you to take a pause about that. But I think it's more about a relationship with yourself and your thought process, and if you're bringing frustration into new situations. And I believe this Virgo moon can bring a practicality to ending that dynamic. All right, we're going to go on to our Scorpios. Oh, Lucy Rose. Wow. A lot of stuff going to be going on for you in Pisces here. And I think this, when in April, when Jupiter and Neptune really come together, I think that's going to be really powerful about our belief system. I'm kind of expecting people to, the 12th house also rules hospitals. So I think there's going to be something coming up about our belief, about our body. And I think that the human race is going to be a little bit sick of hearing. I don't know how much TV you guys watch, but in the United States, there's this commercial. There's 2 of them. But one of them is a woman, and she's pushing a shopping cart, and she's like, I finally got my mental health under control, but now I have these tics. So I have to take blah, blah, blah drug. People are going to start to blow up over that crap, because you cannot tell me you have your mental health under control while you're walking around like this. It just doesn't make sense. So I think that's going to happen. We're going to really see a rise in people claiming a more holistic approach, looking to herbs and to the earth for our remedies, and kind of, we can call it a throwback, but it's really, it's really the primary directive, I think, from Spirit, is to use what God has given us on the earth to heal our bodies. So I'm a little bit about that. All right, Scorpio, what is your tarot card? All righty, here we go. The 4 of Cups. There's a little bit of a challenging energy attached to this Four of Cups. It rules the cardinal sign of Cancer. We see that this character is contemplative, looking at his cups. We see they feel empty, and God is trying to hand this character another cup, and the character can't see it because of their discontent. So I want to offer it this way, because in its lowest vibration, our crabs can be a little bit, I know this is Scorpio, but this rules Cancer. So the reason I'm saying it is there may be something going on at home that Cancer feels a little discontented about or doesn't feel fulfilled about. So let's see how that plays out. Oops. You know, when I look at this, all of a sudden I'm tuning into Scorpio. I feel now here we have this Virgo moon. So Virgo is very earthbound, very practical, very different energy really than Scorpio. And I feel as if when I look at this, there may be a little bit where Scorpio is saying, I want you to see a deeper part of me, and I'm feeling discontent because you're only seeing part of me. If we think about the idea of the four, it represents a foundation. And if indeed, for some reason, this emotional dynamic, you're only seeing the surface part of me, or I feel as if there's a part of Scorpio that you get to see this part of you, not looking to the outside world, but you acknowledging it. Let's see what Spirit has to say. Our first angel is Chantal, the angel of romance. The second is Archangel Uriel. The third is Archangel Gabriel. And the final is Ariel. Chantal is being joined by the Trust card. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Restriction card. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Wasp. And Ariel's being joined by the Novice. This is very interesting to me because I actually think that there's a dynamic of practicality that this full moon is going to illuminate. And when I look at Scorpio and I see the romance card and I see the trust card, I also see the 47. 47 reduces down to an 11. And I believe for Scorpio, Virgo's your 11th house. No, I'm all off. Where is Virgo? Someone help me. But in any case, I want to say it this way because I, again, want to go back to the idea, if there is something missing in your love life, I want to say, did you start on a platform where you were ignoring that? I didn't need it. I didn't want it. I just wanted the relationship. And now I'm in the relationship and I'm like, well, man, that might have been more important than I thought it was. Because I want to offer it this way. I feel when I look at this Four of Cups, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Lucy, Marianne, Juan, because I feel like I have to bring this to the table. If I don't bring this to the table, then I'm going to sit here waiting for someone else to see it in me. There's a little part of me that feels like Scorpio has to be willing to bring this to the surface, whatever it is that you need and want in love. And rather than being frustrated, this is a girl thing. When I was younger, the girls, we used to watch these movies from the 50s and 60s with Marilyn Monroe and all these people that would there was a lot of manipulation between men and women in those movies. And women would think, well, if he really loves me, he'll know this. I just don't think that's true. I think we have to present ourselves and not look to this subliminal awareness. And I say this because I'm going to go on the angel's advice. There is communication in the form of Archangel Gabriel, and there's the anger again. Scorpio is frustrated about something. And if you are frustrated about something, or there is frustration that has been on the table for a while and it's sitting beneath the surface at some point, then now I think it's an opportunity for a new beginning with the Novice and your connection to the angelic realm, your connection to spirit, your natural connection to the occult. When I look at this, I'm not blaming Scorpio, but I almost feel as if you want to be if you want to feel a sense of renewal in your love life, because I cannot ignore Chantal talking about love, the trust isn't really trusting the outside person, it's trusting your deeper truth. So you don't have to get annoyed or angry with somebody who doesn't see it. And in doing so, you offer a new beginning, not only to the other person or the other situation, but to yourself. Sometimes, if we think about Scorpio ruling some dark things, then maybe there's a dark energy attached to how you're thinking. Maybe there's something that thinks I won't be approved of if I open myself up to that. And I think it comes first here. There's some sort of weird illumination about this and an opportunity to actually have a healing. There's something about this that for Scorpio removes stress for me. It doesn't feel like, oh, my health, but it feels like, what a relief. Let's just say this, okay? I hope this comes across well, but let's say that you're a person who, I don't even know how to give an example. I feel as if there's something about just your own, like when I first started telling people that I was an intuitive, it felt very weird. And people looked at me weird. People thought, who are you? Who do you think you are? But the more I owned it, the more it lived in a high vibration, the more it lived in a way that served me. So that's what I want to talk about. Whatever it is, whether it's your love life or what you love, whatever has felt like it's been missing, allow it to come forth, because it will bring you so much more comfort as you start this new cycle. And I feel like part of it might be bringing it into the physical earth, that idea that that we are seeing this trine between the North Node, the moon, and Pluto being your ruling planet. So I hope that made sense, because I don't think it's about exposing something, that you would be unfavorable to others. It feels more like an interior permission to acknowledge it here and then allow it to play itself out in the real world. Shelley, you're the oldest of this group. I don't know. Are you older than me? I think I'm the oldest. I think I'm the senior maiden. I don't want to say crone. I was listening to Nadia this morning, and she was talking about Jupiter, and she was talking about Chiron. And it was funny to me because she said that Jupiter ate his wife. I can't remember her name right now. And I'm like, oh, we always think of Jupiter as being so lovely. Jupiter ate his wife. Oh, good. We're all gonna play for who gets to be the eldest elder. All right, let's go on to our Libra. What would Libra be if I didn't sing? Okay, let's see our tarot card. And this rules Libra. How funny. Two of Swords. Pardon me. Precarious state of balance. And I want to offer it this way because seeing this feels very much like the scales of justice. I have to be blind a little bit. I have to go into my deeper heart, my truth, because that moon up there, even though it's a crescent moon, it feels like it's speaking to me. The water in the background is asking me to step out of the material and go into the idea of what is my intuitive body saying to me right now. So for Libra, your Libra rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, this card is going to be your 12th house. Virgo is your 12th house. So there's a little part of me that's saying, allowing for this idea of a practical dynamic of infusing your spirituality, the 12th house environment of reflection, of meditation, of honoring my dream time and finding balance within it, because it's going to, in some ways, say to you, maybe you need to pay attention to you. I know Libra is a partnership sign, but if we take care of ourselves, are we not taking care of our partners? If we are happy, are we not bringing that happiness into the relationship? And if we are miserable, are we not bringing that into the relationship? Happy birthday, 145 Club. Lucky's going to be 10 on the last day of Pisces. All right, here we go. Libra, Let's see what Spirit has to say about this week. Mystique, keep charging ahead. Crystal, have faith and hope. Archangel Uriel, frustration. And Francesca, where is your focus? A lot of frustration coming up right now, and I think that has a lot to do with the world dynamic and the breaking away of the old. All right, here we go. Mystique is being joined by the Fear card, Libra. Crystal is being joined by the Trust card. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Fire Fairy, and Francesca is being joined by the Baird. This is really, really fascinating. Being a Libra sun, this last few months has been very illuminating for me into, am I taking in my happiness? Am I really present and accounted for in all the spiritual work and growth I've done? I find some of my clients are saying, well, I need to work on this. I need to work on this. And I'm like, I don't know anymore. I don't know if you need to work on it, because I want to offer it this way for Libra. I feel as if Libra rising, if Virgo's your 12th house, it isn't about thinking about it anymore. It's about allowing yourself to sort of go into this quiet, reflective place of saying to yourself, am I willing to face everything and rise? Is fear, false evidence appearing real? Because I am willing to keep moving forward. I am willing to continue to seek the balance that then represents the miracles that are afoot. Because to me, again, I cannot truly achieve unless I've walked through the walls, the doors, the halls of fear. And now I've learned as a Libra to trust in what I can't necessarily see, but what I feel on an intuitive level is fair and just. And it's not comfortable right now. It's not comfortable because I'm having to hold space as I walk through a process I'm not comfortable with yet. Mystique is always a process. It's never the culmination or the manifestation. So what's your opportunity is to trust your inner knowing more and more and more as you move forward, because this is going to start to bust up your frustration. It's going to start to give you these inspired thoughts that what if this is actually leading to that? Because what I think is happening for Libra, and this feels very personal to me, is an awareness that my history keeps dragging my focus back into the negative. And the negative only lives up here now, or the challenges. I haven't seen my physical mother in 20, 30, 40 years. And even then it was like for moments at a time. She's not been in my physical life since I was 14 years old, because I had to leave. Otherwise she was going to kill me. So my point is that if I think about those experiences, I can drag them into my future and base my future on that, or even a negative experience that happened a week ago or a year ago. But I think it's time to rewrite that story, because I think if I go into my intuitive body, everything that's been challenging that I've experienced is actually leading me to a platform of much more awareness. That awareness leads me to directing my focus the way in the vein of where I want to go. And in doing so, I represent the idea of peace, harmony, and justice, Venusian things in the real world. So I think there's going to be something going on, an epiphany for you in your 12th house of some sort of past life, habitual soul's perception. Again, a little bit, Libra's got this little bit of an energy that feels like I have to hold things up. And I don't know if you have to hold things up as much as you get to represent the vibration and the opportunity for it. So let me be a little more clear. As I line up to my truth, I really believe I'm good at my job. I believe I've always been good at looking at psychology, understanding the human nature, and allowing myself this intuitive energy. If I look at my chart, it doesn't scream intuitive. I don't have a lot of water. But that trust has let me nurture what I can't see with my eyes, but what I feel with my heart. And in doing so, it created a stronger and stronger muscle. So I've been able to see how my history serves me and how sometimes it still gives me an opportunity to see where my focus is. And that focus gives me even more opportunity to say it isn't about trying to abolish fear or release bad situations. It's about the integration of them and how they turn into the sharpest tools to cut through the muck and move forward in the jungle of my life. Sorry about that. I thought I turned my phone off small. I don't know what happens when I'm on the computer. All right, let's go on to our Virgos. This is your first house. Oh, I'm kind of proud of myself. Maybe I don't need my cheat sheet as much as I thought I did. Virgo rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Let's see what's your tarot card. Oh, I'm sorry. I turned my phone on vibrate. Okay, our tarot card for our Virgos in the first house is the Seven of Pentacles. Obviously, earth sign. And this represents, I think it's actually cardinal. No, it's fixed earth. So that is Capricorn. Nope, Capricorn's cardinal. Fixed is Taurus. So I want to offer it this way. For my Virgos, this is an opportunity to assess, to look at what you've been creating and decide if whether or not you want to continue to grow in this manner or whether or not you're potentially going to harvest your bounty and then move on to greener pastures. So let's see what Spirit has to say for that. You know, when I look at this card, while I always initially think of it as a change of direction, I also think it's an opportunity for Virgo to look at what you've created and really sit in it for a minute. Take pride in it. Look at that gorgeous garden. Look at those beautiful leaves. Look at how well and mature those pentacles are. I think it's, Virgo being of service, being of, in a certain practical way, you could inadvertently be like, okay, that's done, on to this, and never really sit in the opportunity to be like, I did that. I made that happen, or I walked through that dynamic. Or even, I would like to say, it could have something to do mercurially, because as I look at Mercury in Pisces and heading towards Neptune and Jupiter, it's this idea of, wow, I'm assessing how I think of my world and how I think of how I'm creating my life. And there could be this feeling of, actually, the culmination could be of judging yourself too harshly, or of expecting too much of yourself, and actually allowing yourself to sit and be like, oh. Virgo, our first angel is Archangel Uriel. Everybody's getting frustration and anger today. Woo! Then we have Daniel, the angel of partnership and marriage. I'm pretty sure this must be a partnership with ourselves at this point. Then we have then we have Ariel, and then finally Chantal. Oh my gosh. Maybe Mars and Venus are going to be doing some sort of dance for everybody this week, because we're getting a lot of the romance angels this week. All right, here we go. Archangel Uriel's being joined by the dog. Daniel's being joined by the the deer. Ariel's being joined by the mystery card. And Chantal's being joined by the king. Well, Virgo, I have to say, this is very, very interesting. I'm kind of starting to wonder, after all these readings, if some of you might really have a fluff up in your love life. Because I'm not really feeling it's just about self-love. And posted up, I want to offer this. You get to admire the work. Need feels heavy and obligatory. Get feels like an opportunity and something fun. All right. Virgo, this is your first house. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I think this dog has a lot to do with love and sincerity and loyalty to the self. That you don't need to be of service all the time to others in this dutiful sort of Saturnian way, but rather, I get to take care of me and do the things I love. I get to take that nap on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock because it rejuvenates me. There's something about the idea of being gentle and diplomatic with the relationship you have with yourself and how you're being perceived by others. Daniel talks about marriage, but more so, the emphasis is on the history of partnerships. And when I think of partnerships, we can think about couplehood, but there's been no time in my awareness of history that people have been so singular. They live alone, they eat alone, and while there are families and there are, there always will be, we don't need each other in communal ways the way we used to. Back in 1875, you needed the whole community to erect your house, to help build it and lift the framing. Now we don't need to do that. So I think that this is about being sincere and loyal to yourself and not being frustrated that you're not delivering to other people the way they expect. That's kind of how I'm putting this partnership card, Daniel. The idea of everything that Virgo has to do is to be practical and serve others in a way that isn't, I don't think is true anymore, because now I want to offer the idea that Ariel's talking about new spiritual experiences changing the way you view yourself and others. And I want to offer it this way. Maybe even just making one choice to put yourself first, to move in the direction of your own bounty actually affects others in a more positive way. And I say it this way, because Chantal is the angel of romance and a resurgence of love. And it could be, some of you may fall madly in love, but as a singular person who doesn't expect any love whatsoever to come her way, I kind of think for Virgo, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer about relationships, but I think there's a just time for you to fall in love with yourself. And as you're more loyal and sincere to your own wants and desires, and the focus of that becomes more joyous, then it feels like it actually does invite others of a similar vibration into your experience. And that might be where you finally decide to go in a new direction. You may have been feeling the frustration and anger may have come from the idea of having to be loyal to others, having to be of service to a place that's out of balance. And this is truly what I do think, that our service to others is out of balance. It seems that there are takers and givers. There are rich and poor. And this whole idea of polarization that we've been experiencing for hundreds and hundreds of years is now breaking away. So for Virgo, it's just and fair for you to start to do what you want for you and to think of that as your service. It's an invitation to others to start to allow their mind to muse on their joys, not their obligations. All right, let's go to our Leos. Oops. It's Shelley, it's so funny that you bring up the idea of magic and practicing magic, and even the word witch. I've been thinking about the idea of, Wiccan things and about ritual and ceremony and Sunday church, and how they all kind of seem to blend together to really be a focused intention towards something. So when I did my ceremony the other night, there was a part of me that had used some Wiccan candles and then my crystals. And I felt like as I started to feel this energy within the circle of crystals, it felt very much about really digging in deep to that law of attraction, to the vibration, the momentum. And I could feel the momentum growing. And it was really, really comforting. Welcome, Thibaut. On to our Leos. Oh, hold on. Our tarot card for Leo is the Page of Wands. This is very much a card of inspiration, of messages. It's a fire energy, so it's going to be something I want to move forward. I want to make things happen. We see the common salamander on the garb here that we saw earlier with the Knight of Wands. I believe there may be a message coming for Leo. That message may not be from another human. It may be from spirit. Here we're seeing an illumination in this Virgo full moon. This is going to be for Leo in your second house. So there may be some sort of message illumination in regards to your skills, in regards to how your skills can make you more money and opportunity. When I see the little hat and the feather on this guy, I feel like it has a mercurial energy. So this very much feels like there's a message attached to it for me. So be aware of that, Leo. There may be a strong message coming through. And again, I don't know if the message is necessarily straight from another human. It could be from spirit. And sometimes when we see messages from spirit, it's not like they come through meditation. They can come through repetition of seeing the same thing over and over again. You start thinking to yourself, why do I keep seeing that word Reiki everywhere? All right, let's see where the message is coming from. Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, Archangel Raphael, an epiphany with our healing. This is also a Virgo energy. We have Fiona saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. We have Grace and Antoinette, the angels of compassion. And then we have Crystal. Have faith and hope, there's more on the horizon. I think sometimes we're afraid of the magic within, because when the human creates challenges in their experience or co-creates challenges, we don't like that part. When I was in therapy in my 20s and the concept that I picked my parents came up, I literally fell to the floor and cried in the fetal position. I'm like, how in the world would I ever pick these two people? And actually like, oh my God. Because I never felt loved as a child, never, except by my grandparents. And my grandmother has a little challenge with the bottle, but my grandfather made me feel very loved. And that was just horrific to me. But once I kind of got over the idea that I didn't pick them to suffer, but rather they offered me such a contrasting experience that it propelled me in a way to be who I and what I am, to fight for myself, to be who and what I am, not to take their version of loving oppression, honestly. So that's where I'm going with that. Leo, there is going to be a healing in your love life. There's going to be an epiphany through this, a practical and epiphany through this dynamic. Fiona is offering, so there's going to be a message from spirit regarding your love life that's going to present a balancing energy that will feel like a healing energy. And this is going to come from also, Fiona says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And the B for me is not only victory, it's my awareness of my attitude, my being energy, my disposition as I walk into a situation. Grace and Antoinette is offering compassion in relationships. So let's look at Leo, the sign of romance. Maybe you've gotten a little bit of a bitter ball. Maybe you've been feeling like, you know what, love is bullshit. All these people on Tinder and everything, they're just a bunch of, forget about it. So now maybe it's the epiphany comes that, oh, maybe all of those, this is bless the broken road. Maybe the epiphany comes that I've been starting to think that everybody's kind of a, not right partner. And now I get to shift to say, you know what? Everybody's a frog until I kiss that one prince. Because I believe that this is my relationship card, and here's my compassion. I get to have compassion for myself as I viewed relationships, because Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon. And then I see the horse. And I feel like the horse is very Sagittarian for me right now. That the epiphany that this Virgo full moon has is that I have, in some ways, as a Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, been standing on a platform that maybe wasn't completely aligned to my truth. And one of the things that I've found in the last couple of years is sort of this polarization of people who want love so much that they're willing to shave off some of the things that are so important to them. And if for some reason you've been doing that, then the epiphany will come that I cannot do that and truly feel loved. So I'm going to move in a new direction where I go to spirit and I trust a bigger picture. I go to a Jupiterian feeling. I go to a Sagittarian feeling of a higher philosophy, and I start to trust a bigger picture. And this is kind of where I go back to the idea of the mantra that kind of just rose up out of me. Because as a 62-year-old woman, I don't really know if I believe romantic love in a way that manifests it. I've had a lot of experiences, but when I sat in this idea of love is safe, love is strong, love is here, then it didn't put it in a specific category. It kind of made an environment for everybody that comes into my experience to duplicate or to propagate. Is that the right word? So I feel like this is super important for Leo, because you do rule love and romance, and not just the love of other people, but the love of life, the love of joy, the fun and excitement. So I want to say that you're going to have some message that really brings something along. And let me just throw something crazy out there. I think that there may be an opportunity for Leo that you get a message that has to do with your professional life that brings forth more excitement and love moving forward. Something that maybe you get to actually birth a creative dynamic, a creative idea that you've had, and an opportunity is coming. And the full moon is the end of the practicality and moving into a more fun kind of, I don't know. I think of creativity as the opposite of practicality, because you can't be practical and be creative. The writer can't just sit down and write because they're sitting down. They need that inspiration, as I hit myself in the face. And here's inspiration as your card. Okay. All right. Let's go on to our Cancers. I am going to do a video. I've already started like putting it together, but I'm going to do a mantra, 5-minute video of this very mantra. Love is safe, love is strong, and love is here. I'm doing it so that if you guys want to kind of join in and use this as a declaration to the universe, we'll have some real fun music behind it, and it'll be something you can use on a regular basis. I want the channel to start to be full of tools for you, not just astrology tools, but tools to help you really bring into your experience the ideas of the laws of attraction and the law of allowing. That's awesome, Brandon. And I love that you have your middle name in there, Arthur, because that was my grandfather's name, and it's a name that's very warm to me, and it's not a name you see very often. So, okay, here we go. On to our Cancers. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Queen of Cups. Now, I want to say this. To me, this is really, look at the little child that's sitting underneath the chair. The very first thing I thought is, this is the mothering energy. This is the nurturing energy. This is the beauty of Cancer and the intuitive body. But it's also an opportunity for you to see the practicality of taking care of the inner child. Pardon me. And I want to say it this way, because we teach through experience. So in this maternal experience that Cancer, owns and governs, is self-care not the best way to teach our children how to truly love? And by loving themselves, it gives a larger platform for them to love others. Love being allowing my wants and desires to be important, allowing my time to be important, or looking at where I feel dutiful and looking at that energy. Am I going in with resentment because I have to do this, or because I get to do it? That's how I want to see it. All right, Cancer. Our first angel is Bethany, self-care. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's that inner child. Then we have Isaiah. It's time to give birth to new ideas and new situations. Then we have Chantal, the angel of love. They're coming up over and over again. And then we have Archangel Raphael, the epiphany. Healing doesn't start in our body. The physical experience balancing out does not start because we take something. It starts up here and we align to it and then we move through it. If we only realized how important Mercury's influence is on our life. Okay, Bethany's being joined by the Grail Knight. Isaiah's being joined by the Raven. Chantal's being joined by the High Priestess. And Archangel Raphael's been joined by the Letting Go card. I want to offer this to my Cancers because over this whole last couple of years, I think that COVID and what led up to COVID is really kind of all. And when I think about Pluto opposing Cancer for the last since 2008, it's been a rough ride. And I think that the rough part is this constantly trying to take care of others and feeling fulfilled through that dynamic. And I think Bethany is saying, if you bow down to the truth that your self-care is indeed how you will feel fulfilled in caring for others, because the timing is right for this new situation to give birth to new ideas. And the idea is that when I walk into the physical and I make you dinner and I make your bed and I do your laundry, am I really tending to you? I'm not sure, because I think that love really comes from a much more spiritual dynamic. A much more spiritual dynamic that says, you know what? I love you and I'd love to do your laundry, but today I'm going to go get my hair done. Today I'm going to do this and then I'll do that, because the vibration of how I perform and act is as important, if not more important, than performing the act itself. Because Cancer, the little crab, God bless you. It's fine. I mean, but the going back and forth gives me this feeling of, I keep hoping as the crab that if I do enough for you, you'll acknowledge me. And I think that's where we get a little off the rails, because I think if you do for you, then you will be acknowledged by others. So here we have the epiphany. And there's the healing of Archangel Raphael, because if I actually, this is Let It Go from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. And that freedom comes from the self-care that then allows others not to feel bound by your loving them. And I don't want to be mean about it, but I feel like sometimes if you overlove somebody, then they feel the obligation of your love, not your love. So, and you take care of you. And when you see the healing that this does for your physical body and how it makes you feel more, if you think about the houses, okay, let's just go Cancer and Virgo, they sextile each other. So there is something that actually serves the greater good when you take care of yourself. When you look at the idea that Cancer rules the very bottom of the wheel, what's underneath, what makes me feel at home, what makes me feel nurtured and safe and loved and appreciated. If you as a Cancer don't allow that, give that to yourself, how do others know how to give that to you? So this is where I'm going. So I think this is an epiphany. I think it comes first as wow. And then, okay, I think I'm on board. I think I'm done with all that other stuff. And it's practical for me to love myself. Okay. And loving yourself is not a flat line. Okay. It's not like, I wake up, I love myself. It's more like, I think I see another wrinkle on my face. Hey, I look good for my age. It's that kind of thing. Exactly. I believe you, Lucy Rose, 100%. All right. On to our Geminis. Our tarot card today, is the World. This is a lovely card. On some level, I think of this as so much as this opportunity to really receive bounty, Gemini. And I receive reward because I've been vulnerable in many ways, naked to the outside world, trusting the victory comes from understanding the cycles of which we walk through. And I want to offer this too, because by the time the Fool gets to the World card, he's been through it, okay? He's seen everything there is, and now there's a lot about choice involved. I feel sometimes as if when I look at this card and I see the character not looking face forward, but choosing a direction, seeing the wand here, and I feel as if these four corners offer me choices, and no choice is good or bad. It's just all about my choices. All right, Gemini, here we go. Because your choices bring you your reward. All right, Gemini, our first angel is Isabella. The second is Rochelle. The third is Serafina. And the final is Caressa. Oh boy, full moon in the sign of work. I wonder if something's happening. It's also the sign of slavery. So maybe you're going to be released from bondage. Finally get your reward after you've worked so hard. All right. Isabella says, yes, the timing is right. And then I see the communications card. I don't even think it's about talking. I think this is about Gemini. I think this is about everyday activities. I think it's about what does Gemini rule? Communications. Now, Gemini, Rochelle says to follow your heart because fear is your obstacle. Fear of, oh no. If I make a change, if I give up this job that I make $20 an hour, will I make $40 an hour if I do my own thing or find something else? Or will I make $10 an hour? Don't go there. Because in order for Gemini to truly feel that happy change Seraphina is offering you in the angel's advice, it's really about telling a new story. It's really about, this is the thing. There's so much fear underlined in our human experience right now from what we hear going on in the world. Australia is experiencing major flooding. The Ukraine is obviously in cray town. The United States it's a shit show, let's say it. And so all of this underlying could make us feel very, oh no, better keep the job I got, better to have this job, better to have this dynamic than to move into the unknown. I think it's time to really start to allow for a bigger picture, because I want to offer this. I study history, I watch a lot of history, and I really love Henry Louis Gates on PBS. And he depicts people not only who have suffered through historical slavery and oppression, but he also represents the opposition of that, which is people who have thrived and people who have excelled and have broken the odds, who have defied the norm of their generations. So I feel as if this is an opportunity for Gemini, who rules everyday activities, to come into communications with what you really want to experience in the world. And this is the time for it, in some ways, to unleash yourself from the fear and start to follow your heart so that you yourself can feel more aligned to a new story, a story of enchantment versus a story of duty. Because here is the transformational death card and the end of a cycle where new happiness awaits you. Now we talk about a full moon in Virgo, a full moon in obligatory practical energy, a culmination of doing something or being something or purporting an energy that actually makes me feel chained, makes me feel bound. And I think the first thing is going to come from the way you think. So Gemini, you're going to start to think in more aligned ways to what do I really want to experience? And if I think that way, will I not start to open an avenue for spirit to bring that experience or that dynamic into my experience? And this is where I go back to the beginning of the video and I talk about this idea of the ascension. The ascension is not walking up a staircase and becoming some sort of floaty thing. The ascension comes from the roller coaster ride of being a human and then understanding that when I'm going down, where is my vibration? Where is my focus? What is my as above, so below? And then aligning to the truth. And then we start to see a new experience come in. So I think that's what's going on with Gemini, this revolution inside the way you're thinking. And I don't know that you've accomplished thinking in alignment as much as the awareness that I'm out of alignment with what I really want. And that's the door that opens. And that's what brings in this new chapter. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel scary. It feels like it offers reward. Okay. On to our Tauruses. Now, Taurus, and if you have any, there's this grand trine now between the North Node in Taurus, this moon, and Pluto. So I really want to offer you guys, all of you, especially if you have a stellium in Taurus, it doesn't have to be just Taurus. My moon is in Taurus. So I've really been thinking about, and I've got Uranus transiting over my moon, and really been thinking about how do I want to process this? How do I want to really kind of take that idea of Uranus representing revolution? How do I want to revolutionize my history of my emotional body? All right. Oh, let's look at our tarot card for Taurus. Justice. Look at all the major arcana cards coming up. This is a major, major deal. It means there's a lot of really opportunities coming up for us as we culminate a cycle in slavery. This represents Libra, justice, fairness, balance, and most importantly, this sword represents thought. So I really want to offer, Taurus, as a Taurus moon, I know I can get really, really stubborn about certain things. So here, when I look at this, my first question I ask myself is my thoughts aligned to what I want to experience? Sometimes they're not. And just the awareness that they're not is an invitation for spirit to allow me the privilege of the shift. And in the privilege of the shift, that feels like an ability not to villainize the darkness or villainize the challenge, but to see it as this wonderful opportunity. That's where I think the true ascension, the true light, the true gratitude comes from, and how we shift this world. This is never going to be a plane where you come in and we're all, oh, everything's great all the time. Everybody loves each other. Everybody's equal. It's never going to be like that. It's not designed that way. It's designed so that when we walk through the challenges, instead of seeing we see okay. I'm gonna get a stronger muscle. When you guys go to the gym and you work out, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be ripped. But how many of us really think I'm tearing that muscle down in order to build it up? It's the same dynamic with the ascension. Okay, so Taurus, Archangel Michael is our first angel. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Athena. Oops. Archangel Michael is being joined by the serpent. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the stag. Rochelle is being joined by the frog. And Athena is being joined by the raven. Wow, this is really fabulous. So we know that Venus rules Taurus, okay? Venus and Mars are have been having a conversation for weeks as they travel together through Capricorn and now into Aquarius. They're going to split up pretty soon, but I want to offer it this way because I'm not taking them as man and woman. I'm taking Venus as your natural ruler to go to your history, which is what the second house rules, and to allow Taurus's history to start to work for them instead of pulling them under. Because Archangel Michael not only offers protection, but asks us to have the courage to shed the skin, to stop telling the old story and to start to tell a new story. Because as you make this shift, you will stand in leadership as you are compassionate with the journey. And the compassion actually comes from, I feel, sometimes, as a Taurus, I get really stubborn. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a quick story. My Starbucks, I have my Starbucks every day. I'm totally fight with my addiction to Starbucks. It's not good. I agree, blah, blah, blah. But I got so mad at the people at the market for being rude one day where the Starbucks is that I would walk all the way into town to go to the Starbucks there. And I remember this morning, I didn't have time because of the show, and I wanted my Starbucks, and it was literally I had to swallow my pride to go into the Starbucks at the market and order it. And I'm like, why do I keep wanting to villainize these people? Because I'm a stubborn Taurus moon. So maybe I need to have a little bit compassion as I stand in leadership instead of my emotional body. Because Taurus spirit is saying for you to truly feel happy, for you to truly feel okay, the emotional cleanup does not come from you being, sail off into the sunset. It comes from compassion for your own nooks and crannies. Because now is a time for you to lovingly assert yourself and make magic towards the courage to shed the skin, not the shedding of the skin. The courage to go through the journey of self-discovery, of being fair, of being just. You know, the people at the Starbucks at the market, they're ridiculously familiar. I know everything about their lifetime, and sometimes I just want to get my dang coffee and get out. And that's part of why I was like, I can't stand these people anymore. But I do like them. And so my point is this: healing comes from the courage to get out of your own way. Healing comes from the courage of being right, but not sticking to being right, to asking yourself, do you want to allow yourself the full moon and culmination of being too critical, of being too, because I got that inside of me. I can be like, you're this and you're that. And that's the shadow side of Virgo, is being a little critical, being a little bit like, you're not doing it right. You're not being perfect enough. So I have to ask myself, am I willing to be fair and just? Do they deserve to be, are they criminals forever because they made me bad Starbucks for 3 years in a row? No, I need to have the courage to shed the skin and own my attitude and have compassion for myself as I shift from being stubborn and pride into being in leadership and allowing myself to make mistakes and others to make mistakes. And that's where the real magic comes, is not to lovingly assert myself towards something that feels less than, but something that feels more than. And the more than is my courage to shed that skin. Okay, let's go into our final sign, Aries, for this week. And our final card for today is Judgment. This is Pluto, Aries. This is Pluto been squaring your little tushy for God knows since 2008. And now it's time to rise like the phoenix, to take Archangel Gabriel as she blows her horn of liberation. You see these characters rising from what appears to be death to illumination. I think this is super powerful. So as an Aries, this is going to be your 6th house. I know that because I'm an Aries rising. And I want to offer this because I really feel like this is the removal of an enslavement of thought. The judgment doesn't come from me judging, but rather me seeing how Pluto has transformed me. Pluto has given me the ability to see how my challenges have worked for me instead of pulling me under. It's never easy, but it is liberating. All right, here we go. Aries rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Francesca. The second is Serafina. The third is Fiona. And the final is Bridget. Thank you, Susie. Francesca is being joined by the Wind Fairy. Serafina is being joined by the Fear. Fiona's being joined by the High Priestess, and Bridget's being joined by the Focus card. Absolutely, totally think that this Judgment card is Pluto transformed. Pluto allowing me to rise like the phoenix because I've gone through a death. And that death is how I think, and paying attention to my own negative thoughts, my own story of who done me wrong. One of the things I noticed after I did that mantra on Friday night. And Saturday morning, I woke up with like a whole barrage of people that I was like my emotional sniper. You done me wrong. 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 And I'm like, okay, you've got this branding on your brain. Teresa. That's me. Teresa. That's what everyone used to call me. And now I'm like, okay, Spirit, I'm willing to go through this healing. I'm willing to look at my participation in my own misery because I know I think a lot about the crap in my life. And then there is, do you want to be happy? Seraphina's saying, then face everything and rise. Be brave enough to see how all that bullshit, all that nasty, all the people that were the worst to you propelled you. They rocket shipped you to where you want to be. And now it's time to actually recognize that you've asked God and the angels for this. And now pay attention to your own version of what you wanted. You know, this work as a spiritual teacher, and that's what I don't think I'm a healer. If anything, I think I'm an illuminator. I want to bring balance to the dark side. I want it to make sense. And I feel like I've lived so much of this loop. I mean, as I said earlier, I haven't seen my mother barely at all for 40 years. Her influence is not gone. It's much more balanced than it was when I was younger, but I understand that it's my thoughts. Virgo full moon, ruled by Mercury. My thoughts are part of why I'm not happy when I'm not happy. And am I willing to own it? That's the face everything and rise so that I can be happy. Because I've been begging Spirit to be happy, and Spirit is saying, then get into the vision of what you really want. Let those dark things be the platform. Because in the final position is Bridget saying to look deeper into where has your focus been, Aries? Now let's just go. Aries is the warrior. It's a natural thing to go into warrior mode, to say you done me wrong, or you did this, or you did that. Now I need to get out my sword and lob off your head. But if I'm really being brave, then I'm willing to own it. And now I am. I'm willing to own where is my focus. So when I start to go back into my story and I get all cranky and I want to judge other people for being douchey to me, then I just say, okay, Spirit, how did they serve me? How did I become a more powerful co-creator with the universe as a result of this challenging, dark experience? And am I going to continue to focus on the darkness? Because I see how I tend to bring more of that into my life. You know, it's funny because as I look at it and I see that Judgment card, I feel like I'm being released from judgment as well, that there's an understanding coming to me, that life is layered. And for me to villainize myself for not being all that I can be in every single moment is absolutely ridiculous. That it isn't about the rise, it's about the fall. And as I rise again, that's where the real beauty lives. So that's it for this week, guys. I think it's going to be a fabulous full moon. I think April's going to be a real firecracker rocket show as we see Jupiter and Neptune come together and we see ourselves start to things. I think things are going to be revealed, to be honest with you. I think we're going to learn things. And I think that people are going to rise up and start to say, you know, I'm a powerful co-creator in my life and I'm no longer going to be diminished by this dynamic of business needing something to do. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining. Sending lots of love to you. It makes my heart sing to see you every week. And I will be posting another word vibration of the week this week and the new mantra meditation. I hope that you'll look for it Be sure to hit the bell so you get all the notifications. I'm really want to build a lot of fun content, a lot of valuable content, not a lot of blah, blah, blah. And we'll go from there. All right, everybody, have a great week. I'll see you next week. And if you want to book a reading with me, just reach out. My information is below in the description. Peace out. See you later. Have a great week.